All right, we had some very interesting drama this morning revolving around RF Kennedy Jr. And I just kind of wanted to cover it because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm kind of calling BS on this story by the Washington Post. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So I guess, pretty recently, the Washington Post came out with this story where they're basically alleging that, well, they're not even alleging, they're just straight up saying that this is what happened. They're saying that Robert F. Kennedy tried to meet with Kamala Harris in order to discuss a cabinet job. And, let's just read a little bit of the article here because they're basically saying that Kamala Harris turned him down, which, shocker, which is why I don't believe the story because, anybody with a brain could have guessed that one. But let's just read it. It says right here, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sought a meeting last week with Democratic nominee Kamala Harris to discuss the possibility of serving in her administration, perhaps as a cabinet secretary, if he throws his support behind her campaign and she wins, according to Kennedy campaign officials. Harris and her advisors have not responded with an offer to meet or shown interest in the proposal, say people familiar with the conversations. Okay, let's just pause right there. Why would RFK? I'm not saying that it's inaccurate that he didn't try to reach out to her to have a meeting. I could see that. He's that type of dude. I could definitely see him having a meeting with her. I don't know exactly what reasons he would do that, but I could see it happening. Do I believe that he wanted to meet with her and ask specifically for a cabinet position? I don't believe that. I'm going to tell you why. Now, obviously, we all know that there was reporting that RFK had a phone call with Donald Trump and he tried to get a cabinet position. The reason why RFK is trying to get this is because, well, first of all, he's not the first person who, tried to get a cabinet position and successfully did it. People do favors all the time for presidential candidates in exchange for a cabinet position. But Robert F. Kennedy as an independent is actually polling pretty well. And there's some speculation out there that he might siphon votes from both candidates, either Trump or Biden. And so the way he sees it is, hey, well, maybe you could get some of those votes that I'll siphon from you if you get my endorsement. But in order to get my endorsement, you're going to have to give me a cabinet position. The reason why it makes perfect sense for Trump, by the way, because think about it. There are a lot more Republicans who like RFK than Democrats. Don't get me wrong. There are Democrats that like RFK and are voting for him. There are Republicans. But based on what I've seen, there appears to be a lot more Republicans and people who may not necessarily want to vote for Trump that instead like RFK, right? Now, in terms of the Democratic perspective, there are way less Democrats that are voting for RFK. That's number one. Number two, the Democratic Party has completely, in every mainstream media thing you see, and just everything regarding the Democrats, they have painted RFK as this crazy lunatic who has nothing to do with the family. By the way, they ran some sort of ad or commercial, I believe for Biden, where they had his entire family basically say that we're supporting Biden, we're backing Biden. So the guy's own family is not supporting him. Instead, he's supporting the Democrats, and the Democrats are perfectly on board with that. They've also continuously branded RFK as crazy, conspiracy nuts, gonna put Aaron Rodgers as his VP, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, the Democrats filed several lawsuits in different states to make sure that RFK couldn't get on the ballot. And yeah, so when you just take all this into account, some of the things that the Democrats have done in order to undermine Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and then you include the fact that the top political donor to Donald Trump's campaign is also the top political donor to Robert F. Kennedy. Why in God's name would Robert F. Kennedy think that he would even have a chance of getting in Kamala Harris's cabinet? Number one, I would argue that the Democrats really don't need him. Number two, getting an endorsement from RFK, I think would actually kind of hurt them. That's just my opinion. Maybe at the beginning when he ran as a Democrat, I don't know. But as the race currently stands right now, I think the media has successfully branded him as crazy. And obviously, he shares some blame in it too. You had this weird story with a bear. He faked something with a bear biting him or something. There were allegations of him apparently committing sexual assault against a woman. And then, he got on an interview and he wouldn't answer the question. He basically said, I have skeletons in my closet. He basically didn't deny it. He's just an interesting dude, But hey, people like him. And I do want to defend RFK a little bit because I've had this conversation with my family. They'll be like, anytime RFK does something goofy, they'll send it to me. The older folks in my family who are like voting for Biden or Kamala at this point, they'll send me stuff about RFK, and they'll basically be like, he's crazy. Like this is your guy. Like, and I'm like, no, that's not my guy. But I just feel like we have three bad candidates, and I think a lot of people are missing that. Like, yeah, RFK is a little goofy sometimes for sure. He does some weird stuff, but so does Trump. And so does Kamala. Like, I think they all have different things. Obviously, RFK, he's an interesting guy. I get it. But Kamala's fake. I will vote for her, though, because she's the best. To me, she is the best out of the three candidates. And, well, RFK doesn't have a shot. So Kamala's the best out of the two candidates. But she's definitely not the best either. I don't necessarily think that she's, like, great for the country, to be honest. But I definitely don't think Trump is either. And, Trump is unethical. So the bottom line is, whenever people send me stuff about RFK, I'm like, okay, well, Kamala's got her own little issues too, and so does Trump. So, and, Trump's just downright unethical. I mean, I just can't get over the fact that this guy literally tried to get Mike Pence to not certify the election results. And then he called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, give me 11,000 votes. Like, I just don't understand how people could vote for Trump, but whatever. Bottom line is, I don't really believe this story where they are trying to say that RFK wants to meet with Kamala to get a cabinet position. Like, anybody with a brain knows that he has no shot of getting a cabinet position. Kamala's not giving him a cabinet position. They would never give him a cabinet position. They don't even really like him. I mean, literally, they've done everything they can to undermine him and destroy his campaign. However, they do see him as a threat. I will admit that. Both parties absolutely 100% see RFK as a threat. However, I'm pretty sure the Democrats are probably thinking that he's very likely going to endorse Trump, So why would the Democrats even have anything to do with him? Plus, they just don't need him. He's just not a part of their strategy, because I'll tell you right now, Kamala's strategy is so much different than Biden's. Maybe if Biden was the guy, maybe. But Kamala's strategy is so much different. Kamala is trying to appeal to a base of people who normally wouldn't vote. And as the polling is showing, Kamala is succeeding in that. Kamala is strongly appealing to Gen Z. Kamala is strongly appealing to people who were probably going to sit this election out. But now that Kamala's the nominee, they're a little bit more energized. So Kamala's strategy is a little different. Trump's already got his base. To me, there's not really much new votes he can get. Obviously, Trump and Kamala are competing for the undecided voters. But again, Kamala has something that Trump don't have. Trump's already got his base. Kamala is adding to her base, adding more young people who are now at the age of voting are now starting to come to Kamala's side. And I definitely think that's a strength. But let me just read this last thing. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was that article that just made RFK snap, but the man just kind of snapped. He posted this tweet this morning. He said, Vice President Harris's Democratic Party will be unrecognizable to my father and uncle, and I cannot reconcile it with my values. I mean, it's funny that he says that, because to me, the Republican Party is completely unrecognizable as well, but whatever. He says the Democratic Party of RFK and JFK was the party of civil liberties and free speech. VP Harris's is the party of censorship, lockdowns, and medical coercion. Okay, I do want to defend the Democratic Party. You can't really blame the Democratic Party for how it changed, because America changed. The country changed. The country has changed. People and what they care about has changed significantly than what it was 40 years ago. And so if these political parties want to win, they kind of have to change along with their base. And that's all that happened. So I don't really like when people say, oh, remember the good old days 50 years ago when the Democratic Party was the party of civil liberties and free speech and blah, blah, blah. Like, look, man, you got to update with the times if you want to win. And the Democrats are definitely doing that. They have done well with updating with the times. That is why mostly young people vote Democrat. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Kennedy Democrats were anti-war. Kamala's is riddled with neocon warmongers. Yeah, he's right about that. He's got a point there. And everybody's definitely tired of the wars. The RFK, JFK Dems were allies of Main Street. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a bunch of rambling. Let's see what he's got. Because he basically said something about Kamala. Here's what he said at the end. He said, "I spent years battling government corruption and lies. VP Harris spent years gaslighting Americans about the health of our commander in chief. I have no plans." Well, first of all, I just want to point this out. Terrible campaign strategy. He said Vice President Harris spent years gaslighting Americans about the health of our commander in chief. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Even the Republicans don't care. They're going to act like they care, but they don't even care. They're going to use it as an attack point to attack, the Democrats, so they can, that's what they do. They attack each other so they can get more votes to win. But truth be told, nobody really cares that the Democratic Party lied about the health of President Biden and basically hid the fact that he's been on cognitive decline for 4 years and lied about it. Nobody really cares. That's just the truth. And if you're running a campaign, you have to understand that. You need to start speaking on things that people care about. Nobody gives a crap that they lied about Biden. RFK, Robert, Biden's not in the race anymore. You got to understand that, man. It's Kamala now. So all that stuff about Biden, nobody cares. He ain't running. Kamala's running. He says, "I have no plans to endorse Kamala Harris for president. I do have a plan to defeat her." Oh, that's a good joke. Yeah, we all know what your plan to defeat her is. You're gonna drop out and endorse Donald Trump. That's all you got. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You're running as an independent. I mean, surely you can't think that you have a chance of winning the election. But nobody's shocked that RFK has no plans to endorse Kamala Harris except for maybe RFK. Like, everybody knew that. Like, yeah, the Democrats have literally done everything they can to destroy your campaign and paint you as this crazy weirdo. And yeah. So, I mean, what's the shock? Like, but I just wanted to cover this drama because I'm not sure I trust that Washington Post article. That would be, he has the worst campaign team ever, or he just doesn't know how to run a campaign if he really thought that he could meet with Kamala and try and ask her for a cabinet position. Like, the Democrats do not like this guy. Let's just be real. They don't even like Bernie. So what makes you think they would like this guy? Anyway, whatever. That's the drama. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.